Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adi and today I have my top 10 teams in Regulation H and I have multiple rental codes for each type of team. Now when I say team, I really mean core or archetype, and there are multiple different ways to build out each of these different common cores. And so I'm going to be showing you multiple different versions with rental codes for each of these teams and also paste in the description down below. So if you want to try out any of these teams, this is the place to be. So let's jump into it. So starting from the bottom, I guess the 10th best team in my opinion in this format is Sand. Now Sand did win a regional. Nils Dunlop did win legal regionals with Sand. So it does have a smattering of other results as well. Gunter got top 8 at Perth regionals. I believe it got top 8 at Sacramento regionals as well. On screen, I've got the couple different versions of it, including the Kilowattrel version. And then also, I didn't really have a good place to put this, but I did want to highlight this team. This is the team that Choppa and Marcus used to get top 4 and top 8 at the Toronto regionals. Toronto being the last event of this format. When I think that the teams that did well in Toronto are probably the teams that you want to look at moving forward, since I think Toronto actually had a lot of big changes in the metagame. Obviously, we'll cover a couple other newer teams from Toronto later on in this video. But Choppa and Marcus using a team that we hadn't really seen before. It's not really a Sand team. It does have a Tyranitar on it, but yeah, I'm calling it a Sand team because I needed a place to put it in the video. The rest of the teams usually have Excadrill. There is some Garchomp Sand as well here and there. Len did really well at LASC with Garchomp Sand. But yeah, Sand is definitely something you can expect to see. The 9th best team that I have on here is what I call Kingambit Balance. Here are a few examples of this. I think there's a lot of teams that really try to leverage Kingambit or Redirector, a lot of bulky Pokemon, including the team that Agata used to win at Joinville Regionals early in the format. This is the same 6 Pokemon that Paul Chua used to get second place at Baltimore Regionals, which was the first regional of the format. So again, that team, a little outdated. I'd also say the MDB, Michael Derbesti, Magmar team is a little outdated as well. Although he was really grinding that team. He was getting okay results with it, but I think that even he had to kind of give up on that team by the end of the format. I think the one of these early metagame teams that had the most staying power was probably the Electabuzz version. There's also a Clefable version, which that one really didn't have any staying power at all. That one really fell off pretty quickly. But yeah, I think the Electabuzz version probably has the most staying power out of the early metagame versions, but I really think that this team kind of fallen out of favor. However, Luca did get top 8 at Toronto Regionals with Kingambit. He is, of course, the Kingambit master. And so if anyone can do it, it's him. And he's using, I guess I call it like a more updated version, right? I think one of the things to take note of is the Sash Annihilate, like Sash semi-support Annihilate that's become a lot more common later in the metagame, and so this team is taking advantage of that. And yeah, I think this team is probably the version of quote-unquote Kingambit Balance that I'd say is the most recent, doing well, and therefore has the best chance to do well recently. However, I don't have a rental code for it. He never released the team publicly, or the paste publicly, so I couldn't recreate it. So yeah. Going on to number 8, what I call Ninetales Setup. This was a team that actually I used at Toronto Regionals. I used the same team that Saidi used to get top 16 at Stuttgart Regionals. Few changes here and there, and there's also a version of this team that had a Rillaboom on it as well. But I think, you kind of use 5 of these Pokemon. And it was reasonably common. I think it fell off towards the end. I certainly didn't feel like it was a good call at Toronto Regionals. I didn't do very well. But you can also see a couple other versions of Ninetales Setup with Annihilate usually. Looking at Bartosh's team from Gdansk Regional, where he got top 8 with the Leftovers Annihilate, and then also the team that Amazemaker used to win the Thailand Premier Ball League, which doesn't actually have a Light Clay on the Ninetales. That's the Covert Cloak, which is something that I also used to get top 32 in one of the GCs with Covert Cloak, Icicle Spear, Ninetales next to Annihilate if you're looking for some best of 1 closed team sheet tech options. But yeah, you can see here a bunch of different ways to support your Annihilate with your Ninetales to really make it possible to kill. But then at the very end of the format, again, Justin and Shiliang Tang both used this team to get top 16 at Toronto Regionals. Again, not a team we'd exactly seen before. They used something similar at the Latin American Championships. But again, really using the combination that I thought was so strong is the Ninetales next to the Dragonite. It's really hard to avoid dealing with both of those. and then also something like a Goldengo or a Arcanine to punish Terras. I wouldn't exactly call it the same type of Ninetales balance, Ninetales setup that the other teams are, but it is the team that did well in Toronto, and it maybe signals a changing in the metagame, where I do think that the traditional, very slow, methodical Ninetales and Ninetales setup teams might be a little outdated at this point in the format. Going on to number 7, I have Dozo. When I say Dozo, I don't just mean Dozo Tatsugiri. There was a smattering of success for Dozo Tatsugiri, but I think as soon as Haze Dragonite really took off, people really stopped doing well with Dozo. I don't have the rental code for Carson's top 16 Louisville team, but I do have the open team sheet on here. I think this is maybe the best finish for the Dozo Tatsugiri combo. And then I also have a rental code for a Japanese Dozo Tats team that got second place at a Japanese grassroots tournament in this format as well. Again, it has some of the newer tech with like the Sash Annihilate that I think is really good right now. On the other hand, I think Dozo as a Yawn Fissure user actually saw a lot of success. I have Ashton's top 4 team from LAIC, Colin's top 8 team from Louisville, and then notably I think Joan Garcia over in Europe did really well with this team as well. So a couple different versions of this team that they all have. In this case, they both have Electabuzz. You don't need an Electabuzz, but it's really Redirection, Dozo, Rillaboom, Sneasler, and then you get your one choice item user, one heavy hitter in that regard, and your one setup Pokemon, either like in this case Komodo or the Volcarona, right? So these teams usually end up looking like that. They are very strong. Dozo is very, very annoying if you don't have a game plan for it, and also depending on his Terra type, you have to deal with it, feels like, in very different ways. So something to keep an eye out for, and I think this is one of the more interesting teams in the format that you could, think about using. It has, as you can see, a few different versions that you can use, and it probably has some room to grow in the format moving forward. On the other hand, Dozo Tats probably wouldn't recommend it unless you really think people are all dropping Haze from Dragonite. Maybe it can cycle back into the format. Moving on to number 6, I call it Basculegion Balance. These aren't really similar teams, I'll admit. I'll be the first to admit, before the comments roast me, these teams are not very similar. But they all have a Scarf Basculegion, and they all are kind of good stuff-y teams. I don't know how else to describe them other than that. And so that's kind of what you see. We see a few different people using like good stuff teams that have a Scarf Basculegion on them, and racking up wins. And so here I have the team that Renzo used to get top 4 at LAIC. I think Matthew So also got top 32 at Toronto Regionals, top cut with a similar team there. Narrett got top 8 at the Gdansk Regional with this other team. And I think he has a team report that I've linked in the description down below on Victory Road. So if you want to read about all about that team, we have more resources for that. And then I also have a team that got second place at the one of the grand challenges from JPTK, who is a YouTuber. And again, this is a more best of one close team sheet focus, but when I started finding teams for this video, I didn't realize there was going to be a Regulation HGC. So now we do know. So I didn't really compile best of one teams, mostly best of 3 teams, but we do have a smattering here and there of more best of one focus teams like this one. So something to keep in mind if you are maybe looking for a team for this upcoming grand challenge. Number 5, I have Sun. And there are really 2 versions of Sun that you should be looking out for. There's the team that Joe Garte used, and there's the team that Marco Silva used. Marco, of course, won the Latin American Championships with his team. And then Joe got second at Louisville, got top 8 at Stuttgart, got a bunch of other really good finishes with his version of the team. They both are basically Jumpluff Sun teams, right? As you can see, different Sun abusers, Charizard versus Typhlosion. They got a bunch of different Pokemon that are not in common, but the Jackpack Torkoal is something that they both do share with Overheat, trying to get that guy out of there and get your Sun abuser in on the right turn. So yeah, both these teams are very, very good. I wouldn't be surprised to see either of these teams do well. There's maybe other versions of Sun that we're going to see in a second, but I do know that in the description, I have the team that Sebas used to get, I think, top 8 at Bogota. That was a different take on Sun as well. He posted the paste, didn't post a rental code, so it's not on screen, but there are other versions of Sun around that you can also look at using, including the Psyspam versions of Sun, but I have those categorized slightly differently. For arbitrary reasons. I do think that these 2 teams are very similar, and when I think of Sun, whereas Psyspam I think of more as Hard Trick Room Sun, even though they are a little different, but I digress. We do have right in the middle, we have Johnny Chu getting the Taiwan Premier Ball League champion with Hard Trick Room, and that of course does have a Torkoal, so it is like a Sun team. It has a Lilligant as well, so it is a Sun team, but I do think this team is really, really strong. Brian Collins also was using, I think, these exact same 5 with a mouse hold over the Lilligant, and that was also a really strong version of the team as well. He top cut a bunch of regionals with that. So a couple different versions to run like hard Trick Room. But then there's also like the fun hard Trick Room teams that I really like in this format. That includes like the team that Parker used to get top 4 at Louisville Regionals. I think it also got top 8 at a European Regional with the Executor as both a Psyspam mode and a Trick Room user. So that's really cool. And then also there was at the start of the format a push for Delphox to be the fast expanding force user of choice over Executor. And so Delphox Sun was also a thing in this format as well. Just wanted to point that out because I think it is one of the cooler teams to come out of this format, even though it never really had its day in the sun. You guys like that one? Anyways, the next team that is the Indeedee Drifblim team that I thought was really cool that got top 8 at Dortmund by Jack Clark. We never saw a team quite like that one pop up after that, but I do want to highlight that team because I personally love the Indeedee Drifblim combination. And then lastly, again, is this a Psyspam team? I'd call it a Psyspam team. It felt like a Psyspam team when Carson won Sacramento Regionals. But this is, again, I think you could put the Indeedee, Sneasler, Ursaluna core on a lot of different teams and do very well. We've seen it on a lot of different teams, but yeah, Indeedee, Sneasler just very splashable as a core. And Carson did win Sacramento Regionals with this team that is still going to be around in the format. You're still going to see it. People have gameplayed maybe for this specific team, but variants of this team are certainly still going to continue popping up. Next up, I think these are the big 3 teams in the format, really. If you have to deal with 3 teams, these are the ones, and the number 3 is Porygon2 Ursaluna. This was the biggest threat at the very start of the format. If you look at Longyu's team down here, Porygon2, Insane, Amoonguss, Ursaluna, Goldengo, those 5 are basically like the most common core. Then you have one flex slot. Longyu used Dragonite to get top 4 at Perth Regionals. Flamigo was very common at the first regional of the format to win the Mirror. And you can also see Dimitri got second place at Perth Regionals. He's also a YouTuber, Dim the Sim. I think I will link to his team report down below. He also used the same 5 with a Kilowattrel in the flex slot. And so you can kind of see what that flex slot tries to do. Often a Tailwind user, but the other 5 are really, really strong. And if you're looking for a really good team to sit down, really grind out, plays very fair, balanced Pokemon, you could do a lot worse than this because this is the team that does that. I also have the team that Max Morales used to win Bogota Regionals. But again, a lot of Pokemon is in common actually dropping the Amoonguss on this version. And then lastly, I have the team that Kalen used to get top 8 at Sacramento Regionals. He has a team report on this channel, so you can go check that out. I have that linked in the description. He does not have an Ursaluna. He has a Garchomp with loaded dice, which is something that I haven't really seen other people doing, but is really cool. And so otherwise, this team kind of took a dip in the middle of the format, and then Kalen was one of the first people to do well with the Incin P2 Amoonguss ground type core after it had fallen off a little bit towards the middle of the format. And then it popped up. I know Tia Time did really well. Tia Time, I still don't know how to pronounce his name. He kicked my butt at Worlds. But he was really good at using P2 Ursa. He also beat me at World Cup using P2 Ursa. And yeah, from then on, it started to pick up a lot more. So definitely now, right back in the format, Perth being one of the last events of the year, and doing so well at Perth, I definitely think it's a team that you should be taking note of. Number 2 is what I call Doug Balance. Doug meaning Dragonite, Ursaluna, Goldengo. I've heard people talk about Sug, which is Sneasler, Ursaluna, Goldengo as the big 3. I think, either one works, but there's really only one version of this that I want to talk about, which is the team that has these 6 Pokemon that were omnipresent towards the end of the format. Eden won Stuttgart Regionals with it. I know the same 6 won Perth Regionals. It was Oliver Ramsey. Got second place at Bogota Regionals with Commander, who is, of course, what you see on screen right now. I think they all had basically very similar pace. They all might have worked together. I think Brady also used it to get top 16 at the Latin American Championships. And so these are super, super common as a combination of 6 Pokemon. Again, very fair Pokemon. Technically, there is the Ninetales Doug version that I talked about earlier that I brought to Toronto, but I think that's more of a Ninetales team than it is a Doug team, and this is really the Doug team that you should expect to see in this format. So one of the strongest teams in the format. Look out for this, and yeah, I prep for it, and honestly try using it because it is a very fair team, and it's a good team to grind out, and it's never really going to go out of style, I think. And last but not least, the boogeyman in the format. It's Rain. There are so many Rain teams. Rain won the first event of the format in Baltimore. It won the last event of the format in Toronto. It won at least one more regional. It might have won another one for all I know. But these, I think, are the 4 big Rain teams that you should expect to see in the format. The first, this was maybe the least common right now, is the team that Fede used to win Gdansk Regional with the Electabuzz and the Kingambit. I think we haven't really seen a lot of that since then. The other two versions are the Amoonguss version and the Sinister version. I think those are the two. Otherwise, have the same 5 Pokemon. Otherwise, are very, very similar. But these are the big 2 teams. Kieran, I think, got top 8 at Perth Regionals with this, and I have that pasted in the description. But a bunch of people were using this exact same 6, including Sitchit, I think, was the European player who's doing really well with this. This is the rental code that I managed to find. And then Elizabeth is a Japanese player who built the Sinister version of this team that did really, really well throughout the format. This is the paste that I have in the description, is the one that Jono used to get top 16 at Stuttgart that I recreated. But I know, again, a lot of people were on this team. I think Torviv got second at LAIC with this C6 Pokemon. Alex, podcast co-host, was on the 6 Pokemon. I think they said they had a really, really bad Sun matchup, and we saw that in the finals of LAIC. So that's a reason maybe not to use this team. Maybe it's getting a little outdated. But this was a menace for a large part of the format. And then lastly, Wolf, of course, won Toronto Regionals. I was talking about Sun being a bad matchup for the Elizabeth Rain team, but the Gothitelle Rain team trapping in that Torkoal might have a better matchup into Sun. Obviously, a very, very different team. I do think this team maybe caught the metagame off guard, but since then, since the Regulation H format has gotten back on the ladder, I've seen a lot of people using Wolf's team, and no one's been really quite as impressive as Wolf. And I think nowadays, people have practiced against it, and they kind of have to know their lines into it, and it gives it fewer margins than Wolf maybe had with it. So I think Wolf can do well with this team. I wouldn't be surprised if other people did well with the team, but it's going to be a lot harder to do well than you think. It is a very hard team to pilot. But yeah, those are, in my opinion, the best teams of the format. I would say if you pick one of these top 3 archetypes, and they have some room to grow. I think I have Anthony Londergan's top 16 team as well that has a Manchow for this one as well. So there's a few different versions of each of these different teams that you can think about using. But I think that these top 3 are pretty definitive. And then there's a lot of other stuff in this format. It is a really, really diverse format, and it's been a lot of fun to play, been a lot of fun to explore and look back into. So if you're looking for a team to use, here's a lot of teams that you can try out. And if you're looking for maybe like a teams to prep against for an upcoming regional, obviously I've got a bunch of pastes here too, so that's really helpful too. I know I will be using this list of teams to prepare against as well. But yeah, that's going to do it from here. I want to give a bunch of shout outs to all my channel members, first and foremost, for supporting me. I really appreciate it. But then also to VGC Paste and Lab Mouse that helped really search for teams and rental codes. It made it a lot easier, so I couldn't have done it without them. If you like this video, make sure to like and make sure to subscribe. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more content this fall. And then hopefully when Champions releases, we can really push a lot of content out that way. So make sure to subscribe and don't miss a thing. We got some team reports coming up. They're going to be really big. World's Top Cut team reports coming out. We got even more Regulation H content coming out. So look out for that. And yeah, that's going to do it for me. Until next time, later.